What I look for when having ideas is this in flow? Is it easy and magical things happen like synchronicity? Like this, they give me the recipe and then, oh my God, one of my friends in Austin got laid off. She's been in the food business. She's already found a manufacturing plant. All of this within 2 weeks. It's literally like you are in this system of flow, and I just roll with it. Like, okay, let's see what happens. And that's what I look for when it's hard and difficult. I kind of go, I don't know about this, right? That's a sign to me. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you don't have the universal flow backing you up, right?
I believe that each and every one of us has the power within ourselves to create the life that we really want. And I want to help give you the tools to make that happen. I'm Danica Patrick, and I'm pretty intense. Today on the show is the very inspirational Suzy Batiz. She started Poo Pourri, which I know all of you have in your house. And she also has another company called Supernatural, which is a cleaning product. And for any of you who are interested in diving a little deeper, she's also offering at 75% off a course called aliveness, which is something that she says has been 15 years in the making of a course to help you dive into yourself. And of course, then what we get into in the episode really is how it's the inside of what's going on within her. It's her emotional state. It's her ability to feel flow that gives her the ability to be the business mogul that she is. That's all secondary to looking at herself. So in the episode, we talk so much about that. We talk about her journey. We talk about everything from Ayahuasca to a $500 million company called Poo Pourri. But at the heart of it all, while wearing her crown, also known as her hats, is the story of a woman who has been through it all and come out the other side and is here to be an example of how we all need to learn how to become our own guru. Thank you so much for doing this. It's so nice to meet you. I can't wait to meet you in person.
I know, me too. I feel like I know you kind of.
Well, maybe there's some kind of existing resonance with spiritual people.
I think there is, for sure, right?
I think it has to be, right? Because if everything is in terms of frequency, then we have a similar vibe.
Oh, 100%. That's why I think so. It's like, oh yeah, I know her. Like, we're the same. This is great.
My friend Stacy was the one who introduced me to you and got me following you, even though I've actually had Poo Pourri give me the timeline. When did it come out? When did Poo Pourri come out?
Well, I made my first bottle in April of 2007, or sold the first bottle, April 2007. So it's been, what's this, 2020? 13 years.
I think I've had it for that long.
Really?
So my friend back in Roscoe, Illinois had a little gift shop, and she had all kinds of different things in the gift shop. And one of them was Poo Pourri. And so my sister I was just on the phone with my sister today, and she's like, that shirt that I have about that one marathon? And it was from, the shirt's date is 2008. And that's the year that Zazu opened, which was the name of the little gift shop. She's like, it had to have been at least 2008. And I thought, I just think it's been around for 15 years for me. So, and now it's like, what is it, like a $500 million company?
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for buying it back then.
Oh yeah.
Because seriously, like, I love everybody that buys it now. Thank you so much. But I also think those first people that took a chance on it, right? Because I wouldn't be here, man.
It was like magic. When it came out, it was like magic. You put it in, you're like, it's just magic. It just like seals it up, and it's like magic. And then, of course, on top of that, I used to be a race car driver, and so at the race weekends, we'd all live in buses. And so when you live in a little tiny bus, you need Poo Pourri.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, for sure. It saves. We've had a lot of musicians and people that are on tour and buses email us, their managers, like, can we please get some Poo Pourri?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So how are you?
I'm really, really well. I feel great. It's some really challenging times for, a lot of people, for everybody, in the world right now, but I feel really positive and full of life and light, and using this time to really harvest and, plant some seeds, realign so that whenever we come out, like, guns blazing.
What seeds are you planting?
Ooh. Lots of seeds. The funny thing is, I actually have two new companies I've started during quarantine. One is already almost, I mean, oh my gosh, it's about there. And another one is a really great concept where I have names, we're working on branding. So that, my personal story, working with a lot of people on my personal story. How's that going to get told in the world? How do I want to tell it in the world? I have the AliveOS course, which stands for Live Operating System, which is basically a course that I wrote 13 years ago that I rewrote and took a few women through it last year. That's going online. And then Poo Pourri and Supernatural. That's all.
So what are these other companies like? Can you give any kind of indication, since we just know we're all going to want to buy it because we all want to buy everything that you create? What boxes do they fit in? Are they products? Is it more like Live OS where it's kind of interaction, or can you give any
No, they're all
indication?
completely different. One of them is cookies. I'm getting in the cookie business.
Okay.
Paleo, gluten-free, vegan. Dude, wait, I'll send you some over. We're in R&D now. So I'll courier some over. Like, incredible cookie, miraculous story. I chased this recipe for a year because I tasted these cookies in New Jersey in this little tiny town. I offered to fund this girl, do everything, and she ended up closing her business. I offered to buy the recipe to this cookie. Like, this cookie's insane. And super simple ingredients, but it's literally perfect. And long story short, I chased it for a year. And 2 weeks ago, I texted her, 3 weeks ago, and I just said, hey, what are you going to do with that cookie recipe? And she goes, in the spirit of giving, and she sends me the recipe for free. So I'm like, now I have a responsibility to do something with this cookie, right? It's like, this is some universal gift that I'm now responsible for. If I bought it, I wouldn't feel so responsible.
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like the recipe needs any vetting out or testing, but if you need like reviews, something like that. My boyfriend loves cookies too,
Oh, good.
Love
Yeah.
cookies.
We'll have to send you over some cookies. They're insane. They're really, really good. So I never thought I would be in the food business, but yeah, that's happening, and it's so cute. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Just
That's
kind of, it has a lot of aliveness. I really follow that alive energy, and this is alive. So even though it doesn't make sense, like in my portfolio or, what I would be, the business I would be in, it's alive. So I'm just going to go
from
with
an
it.
audience perspective alive. You're saying like it's so natural, it's supernatural.
Oh, it
But
is.
it's is that what you mean?
What I mean alive, is things that I look for, things that happen in magical ways. And I look for this. It'd be interesting to see if you felt this in racing, because a lot of surfers feel it. I don't know anything about race car driving, but you know how, like, when you surf and you're looking for that perfect wave and you can get in the zone. So anytime you're doing any sort of sport like that, you really get into flow. And what
Mhm.
I look for when having ideas is this in flow? Is it easy and magical things happen, like synchronicity, like this? They give me the recipe, and then, oh my God, one of my friends in Austin got laid off. She's been in the food business. She's already found a manufacturing plant. All of this within 2 weeks. It's literally like you are in this system of flow. And I just roll with it. Like, okay, let's see what happens. And that's what I look for when it's hard and difficult. I kind of go, I don't know about this, right?
Mm.
That's a sign to me. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you don't have the universal flow backing you up, right?
To me, it's the difference between learning to let something go
Yeah.
versus calling it quitting.
Yes.
Because like, that's how I felt about the end of my career was I could keep going
Yeah.
or I could just let this go. Because there's a lot of signs telling me to let it go. You can almost force anything, right?
Anything. Yes.
But so how did you learn to even have that kind of gauge?
Yeah, I'll tell you, my story is, I've been bankrupt twice when I was 19 and then again when I was 38. And, I have that challenging life. I always say I checked all the dysfunctional boxes. So life to me up to 38 years old was extremely hard. And I developed a really strong muscle of pushing through and I'm going to make it and so anyway, at my second bankruptcy, 38, I'd invested all my money in this amazing idea that was a .com. It wasn't my passion, but it was a good idea. Again, no, it wasn't alive for me, but it was a recruiting platform that matched a person's culture with a company culture. It was 20 years ahead of its time, but it was genius back then. But anyway, the stock market crashed, lost everything. Went into a spiritual sabbatical and really I was done. It was really one of those moments where I got down on my knees to God, and I tried to kill myself when I was 21, but after I had children and a family, I knew that wasn't an option. But I was like I'm done. Like, God, you need to really take me because I can't do this anymore. I was exhausted from all the pushing and striving and going through. And then, I started this path of, I read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And then I was in Byron Katie's workshop, Loving What Is. And I found peace and happiness within my being for the first time in my life. There was no desire for money, success, anything. I literally was just at peace. I didn't need money. I didn't need wealth. Before, I thought I needed wealth in order to be somebody, right? I thought if I can ever just get rich, then I will feel worthy within my being. So then Poo Pourri came along. And what I realized is if I can lose everything, that I'm not going to do it the same way I did it before. I'm going to have fun. Because when I lost everything when I was 38, I looked back and I said, what's worse than losing everything is losing everything and realizing you didn't even have a damn good time doing it. Right? I was exhausted. I was burnt out. It was horrible. So I didn't have anything. So then when I said, if I'm going to go back in business, I'm just going to have fun. That's it. I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to go with the flow. If it feels good, I'm going to do it. If it doesn't, I'm not, because the shit can just get wiped out at any second. So that was when I began that philosophy. I'm like, if it feels good, do it. And if it doesn't, I'm not. And, not saying I'm 100%, it's like a yoga practice. One day, the pose is perfect. And the next day I fall on my head.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But it's different. It's definitely a principle that I practice. I have overrode at times, because of fear or something. But generally speaking, if it doesn't feel good and I'm not having fun, then I'm not going to do it. That's the thing with this cookie. It's fun. It's easy. So like, why wouldn't I get in the cookie business? And if it's hard, even if it's a great idea, if I have to struggle and it's hard, that already tells me right there of what the whole trajectory of that's going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even want to get involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I've been there. I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it. But what I want is that magic and that spark of aliveness that really is, it's like being in flow with the universe. That's where I want to play.
Yeah.
No matter how much money I make.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Abraham Hicks is coming to mind, like everything Abraham Hicks, like the trajectory, start the day off right in flow. Like that's so that vibe of just flowing. But it makes me think of these two dynamics, which, I'm just thinking about it from a little bit of my experience, but then asking for your perspective. And that's that if it's difficult, and I feel this way too in business, like it's to me signs that you're not on the right track.
Yep.
And then I think about this on the other side of the spectrum being relationships, like personal relationships. And when that's hard, is that the sign, or is that the sign to look within yourself?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, don't ask me about relationships. I've been married 3 times. So I'm not even weekend. Just broke up with my boyfriend. So that's an area I'm really practicing. So we're not going to talk about that, but we'll talk about business. It doesn't mean that you're not going to work hard. There's a difference between it being difficult and you having to push through than it being like, let's say you have a child. It's like you have this love and passion for the child. You have the universe behind you, some universal force helped form it in your belly. So you've got this natural flow going. And you're going to have to get up sometimes at 3 a.m. and, change a diaper or nurse or do something. So it doesn't mean that it's not going to be challenging, but at least you have a level of flow and passion behind that hard work that helps keep you going. So that would be the barometer. And as a matter of fact, that's the reason I broke up with my boyfriend right now, is it was challenging. And I was learning a lot about myself, but there also were some dysfunctional patterns that weren't healthy. So it's like, if we could overcome that, that's great. But at some point when you can't, then we have to part ways, Maybe we'll regroup at some point. But that's what I've been practicing. I think every experience that we go through, Danica, is a learning experience. Every single time. Everything.
When did you know you were spiritual? Because you grew up in a Christian household, right?
Huh?
You grew up in like a Christian home, right?
I grew up in really conservative Church of Christ tradition where if you wear shorts or listen to music, you're going to hell. So the weird thing is everybody else but Church of Christ was going to hell, but also if you wore shorts or danced, you were going to hell too. So you were screwed no matter however you did it, like you're just going to hell. And I was actually molested when I was an adolescent, and I used to pray every night to God that it wouldn't happen to my sister, right? And then when I found out it did, I really turned my back on God and any sort of higher power. I was like, hey, screw you, this can't really exist. So then I was on my own. Then I became tough cookie. I'm going to push through everything on my own. I didn't have any support, and after my second bankruptcy, I went to a hypnotherapist, and he said, the problem is you have no meaning in your life. And I said, what are you talking about? Like, I have kids, I have a family. And he goes, no, you don't have a higher power. You don't have anything to hold on to right now. So I read Man's Search for Meaning, and I was like, So then I started studying religions. I started studying metaphysics. I studied, Buddhism and Kabbalism and Hinduism. And I just really started diving into these belief systems and seeing a really common pattern. And once I got the craziness out of my head, all that chatter from being a victim story and a lot of things I started healing, there was a natural, I had a natural belief system in some sort of higher power. I don't know what that is. I still don't. I'm not religious. I'm very spiritual. But it helps me understand the magic of nature or just of life or existence, And then that's when I started being spiritual and realizing that that's all there is. It's funny people know me as an entrepreneur because I'm like, if you're ever around me, spirituality and personal development is probably 75% of my life. 25% is being an entrepreneur. Because I really believe, and I know my direct experience is when I clear inside, my external world reflects that. So my commitment is to my internal vibration and my internal process. And it happens to manifest in magic cookie companies.
Obviously that is the outward thing that we all see. But for someone like myself or my friend Stacy, who really resonates with you, it's the spirituality that we are really interested in.
Yeah.
And
it's everything.
It's your inner compass. It's, it's what forces you to, it gives you the ability to listen to that perspective on whether or not something is being forced or you need to let it go. Otherwise, you're just in the sort of masculine, dominant force mode. And, to me, spirituality, welcomes in and brings such a better balance, especially with the feminine, which, you know, comes through nature and allowing. And, you know, you said nature, and it made me think of, and how that's all there really is. And it made me think of how you've been through so many ayahuasca ceremonies, and you're very open about that. You're open about microdosing psilocybin. You're doing a new ketamine treatment that I know nothing about. So where did ayahuasca come into that? And from what I understand, it was so long ago, we didn't even know like what the heck this was when you were doing it.
Yeah, I always say I started it way before it was cool.
So how were you when you just told the story about reading the book and going inside and realizing that, you know, you needed to heal yourself? How were you?
Yeah, I was 39.
Okay.
So it's about on par. Usually when we get about 40, we kind of start waking up like, hold on, what am I doing? So, you know, I'm pretty predictable that way, on course.
I don't know,
And
Susie. I think that's assuming too much. I don't know if
really?
everybody does.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
a
they
hard
don't.
journey, and it's not everybody wakes up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you should, if you're listening, start waking up, because my experience is you can either wake up voluntarily or you can be like me and life's going to give you something to wake you up, right? Either way, there's an opportunity to wake up.
Yeah.
Could just be listening right now. So
Yeah, and this could be what you were called. Like, this is why you're here today, because you were here to hear this. You needed to hear this message.
totally. And yeah, I don't want anything like that to happen to you, you
Right.
know? And my experience is, you know, we're all here to wake up. I really believe that. Um,
Where did
as
ayahuasca come in?
Yeah, so ayahuasca came in. I started Poo Pourri, so that was, you know, what I say, 13 years ago. And my son was in a really dark place. So I was already happy, blissed out. Everything was great. I was starting my healing process with therapist because I had a lot of stuff to heal. And but I was happy, you know, I was really happy. And my son was in a really dark place. And I wake up one morning, never had heard of ayahuasca, and I hear ayahuasca and Dustin. And I was like it was like a voice, like the profound voice of God or something. And I went in and I typed AWA in the Google because I couldn't even spell it. Like how you spell ayahuasca, right?
Still can't.
Yeah, it's AYA. Yeah. So anyway,
AYA.
AYA. Yeah, but I was like ayahuasca. And I came up with this article from National Geographic called To Hell and Back. And it was about this reporter who had depression, and she had gone down to the jungles of Peru and drank some medicine and was cured. So I sent it to my son. That was on a Wednesday morning. On Saturday morning, he was on a plane down to the jungle, 10 days, 19 years old, no cell phone, no Wi-Fi. I didn't go with him. I'm like, go, honey, because he wanted to go. And I was like, and he calls me, and he was really like, F God, there is no such thing, like really goth, you know?
Angry.
And he was really angry and would do, he would take photographs with him with tourniquets around his arm and needles. And I thought, this kid's just going to end up on heroin. You know, he wouldn't go to therapy. So anyway, I sent him down to the jungle. 10 days later, he calls me from Iquitos. It's this little jungle town down in Peru. And he's bawling, Danica. His heart's blown wide open. I get teary right now. His first words are, Mom, God is real. And like right now, I still cry. I was just like, what? Like, what is this stuff? I didn't even know, right? I just listened to this voice and sent him down there. He comes back and I talk to him till like 3 a.m. like I would a guru. Like, what happened? What about what, you know, what happened? And about 2 months later, I went down there. And then I started journeying, and I've drank ayahuasca over 100 times since. And my first 35 journeys, Danica, were like getting my butt handed to me over and
What is it
over.
like? I mean, this is something that so many people some have never heard of for sure. And,
Yeah.
and then if you have, there's just thorough curiosity for it, right? Like, I want to know what you went through. I want to have just like, give me the set and setting. Like, I've heard that's important. Set and setting. And then what happens?
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
the hell is ayahuasca?
All of these plant medicines should always be done in ceremony with a professional, right? So this was a shaman down in Peru in the jungle with a group of people, probably around 20 people. And you know, you drink this cup of, it tastes like tree bark. the first time you drink it. And what the amazing thing about ayahuasca is you would do it once as a drug if you thought it was a drug, and you would never do it again, because what ayahuasca does is it only deals with your subconscious mind. So whatever's in your subconscious mind, it brings forward. So you want to talk about guilt, shame.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Yeah. So you can go through some pretty hellacious times, right? Depending, and I had such a hard life, right? So
I mean, the things you've said, I haven't even addressed them, but they're heavy. Like, I want to give you that moment to tell you that I hear you. Like, you went through it, and you've said some things in these few minutes that we've already been talking that could have we could spend an hour just talking about one of them. So much respect for your where you're at now and your willingness to figure it all out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, like I said, all the dysfunctional boxes I checked. So what happened is, even though my ceremonies were really hard, and the reason that article was called To Hell and Back is because you go in and face your own personal hell, right? Every single time. But what happened is, at the end, there's some reclamation. And it's like there's a little piece of yourself that you get back. So when you were as broken as I was from so much life trauma, I mean, really, if you stacked up, I can send you a list of everything that I've been through. There's a lot of PTSD there. So each time, though, I would start getting a piece of myself back. My husband at the time kept going, "Why do you keep doing this?" And I said, "Because every time I feel like I'm getting put back together again," right? And I really thought I was going to be a shaman. I thought, I don't know what I'm doing in business. I need to be a shaman. And this is what I should be doing in the world. And a master shaman down there told me, he said, you're going to do more in the world being in business. That he said, basically, shamans move energy, right? That's what they do. They look in the body, they help you move out negative energy so that positive energy can come in, get you more in alignment. And he said, money is energy, and business is the biggest way to move money. And you're going to do more in the world being in business, and you're going to be able to heal people more than you are down here pouring ayahuasca to 20 people at a time. And I was like, oh, so that's why I've always used business as a platform to talk about the real truth, which is our spiritual natures and our spiritual healing. So anyway, but ayahuasca is a way to face your subconscious mind. It's a therapy of sorts. It's a radical therapy. It works. So you don't know what you're going to get into. The reason it's so scary is you don't know what part of the subconscious mind. It's not like you can go in and go, oh, I want to work on when my dad called me fat. You don't have that choice. You drink the ayahuasca and you go on a ride. And, the ceremony can be as simple as, like, I used to lie a lot when I was young. And one ceremony, Danica, was just me literally seeing every lie I had ever told my entire life. Just like lie, like it was like, and you're just like, like I'm never going to lie again, So it's things like that. And it can get as, there were some very heavy things that I've done, that have come up in ayahuasca, lots of shame and guilt and remorse. And also there's great ceremonies, but you just don't know. But it's a healing path. And if you're drawn to it, do it in a safe environment with a professional that you trust. And if you're not drawn to it, why would you go through that?
Right, because then you hear about all the other things that happen too, with purging and, being scary, right? Like you hear that where it's very scary.
Can
and that's
be, yeah.
Having the shamans is that they make sure that, they're your safety net, that you're not just going to wander off and stay in the trip and like do something crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's lots of, that's the only way you should do it, is in a safe environment where you feel safe. Anything like that, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely, what do you think about it now? Because it's become,
we were, our whole family drank together quite a bit. And we went down to the jungle for about 6 years, and then you could feel it turn into tourism. Like you could feel the shift where it was different. And then
Mm-hmm.
it was like, oh, you know, because we were down there mostly back in the day, there were psychologists and reporters and National Geographic photographers. They were all explorers, right? And people were there to heal, like to truly heal. Now, I think it's a little bit of a sport. But still, the medicine's still healing. So whatever. It's just I don't go down there
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Well, now you're doing, I was just listening to spiritual shift. Is that what you call it when you every week? What's that called again?
Holy shift.
Holy
Holy
shift.
shift.
Holy shift. And you were talking about ketamine. I feel like
Yeah.
you're our spiritual guru. So like what's the next thing that is next healing modality out there?
Yeah, I'm really excited about ketamine. I've also done a lot of MDMA and psilocybin journeys, which are great as well. There's psilocybin, MDMA is becoming approved to use in therapy. So is psilocybin.
Mm-hmm.
If you are interested in anything like that, support MAPS. It's the Council for Psychedelic Research. We really need this because I do believe it's the greatest aspect of healing that we have within, you know, our humanity right now.
There's
So
so
we need
good.
this research. So please fund that if you.
Yeah, these drugs get set, like they get put into this drug category, right? And everything
Yeah,
is bad.
yeah.
And I just think that,
But Vicodin's okay, and
well,
OxyContin.
synthetic
You
versus
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Well, and it can be prescribed. It's like, come on. But anyway, so and not saying that there aren't places that can heal. It can, but so yeah. So there's lots of different modalities I've tried. What I'm excited about ketamine is actually I'd heard a couple of people went on these journeys. It's a dissociative. What's exciting about it, there's a lot of research that it helps with attachment. So in relationships, I don't know if you've heard of attachment theory. It's where you're either an anxious attachment, an avoidant, you know, you come close to someone, they back
Is this
off,
like
you know, they
codependent?
back off, you go, you're an anxious. And that's what I was working through. And one of my friends, that's a trauma therapist, said ketamine's really good for that. So I found this doctor out of San Francisco that's an MD, and he's a researcher, and he's also a counselor. And I emailed him about a month ago, and I just said, hey, you know, this was right before quarantine. I was like, you know, maybe I can fly there. You can come here because I'm in LA right now. And he said, I'm pioneering telesessions. Would you be interested? And I'm like, well, you had me at the word pioneer. Okay. Like I'm in. So yeah, he prescribes me the ketamine because he's a doctor and you can legally prescribe it.
Mhm.
And then he just gets online, and I lay there. I have a person in the house in case something goes bad, but it doesn't. And you'd go on this particular journey. What's different than ketamine than ayahuasca is that ayahuasca, you are in the experience. If you're working through guilt, like you feel guilt, you are in the energy of guilt. And it's really, that's where it gets gnarly and hellacious, right?
Mhm.
Like you're in it, you're reliving it.
Mhm.
And it helps because, ugh, you know, once you feel it. The interesting thing about ketamine is that you observe it.
Huh.
So I know you still get the same learning, but you're not experiencing, you're really an outside observer to it.
So is this a pill you take?
Yeah,
Or
this they can either do it intramuscular, you know, in a
Mhm.
shot. Since I'm not here, he just sends me their lozenges, and you just take the lozenge, and in about 10 minutes it takes effect. And I just go on this particular journey while they're on there, a counselor and the or a therapist and the doctor. And then 2 hours later, you come out. And what's amazing is there's no hangover, there's no drogginess. Like ayahuasca takes you a day. If you do MDMA and psilocybin, you are out for 2 days at least because it's really hard on your body. This is super easy. It's really my favorite form of therapy so far as medicines.
wow.
Yeah. So find a doctor if you're interested. Get MDMA. I mean, ketamine. It's Do you know what it feels like, Danica? You know that, you know, when you're about to go to sleep and it's that yummiest deep part of sleep when you just think, yes, I'm going to sleep, right?
Yeah, I do.
That's it, because it puts you in a delta state. that's below theta. So it's the deepest sleep that you can be in, but yet you're still conscious enough to be able to view and experience. It's cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Hugely healing. And afterwards, after the first time I did it, I said, I think my brain has changed, like my physical brain. So there's psychology, and then there's the physical structure of the brain. And they said that actually is proof that it does change the brain.
And in what way?
In a positive way, getting rid of old, because attachment is just an old synopsis that's wired wrong. So it's like a miswiring, and it helps break that wiring.
Like Joe Dispenza would say, the wiring and firing.
Yeah.
Like you reprogram essentially,
100%.
or deactivate things.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I'm super into it. I don't know how long with these things. I journey for a little bit, and then, but I just go through. If life's presenting me something, let's journey. Right now, I'm really working on relationship and going back into the relationship with my father, and that's up for me right now. So that's why I'm journeying with some of these things.
What's coming up? I mean, if you're willing to share, like, what are you working on right now?
Yeah. So my dad, my biological father, was a bipolar alcoholic, and really just codependency and wanting to, I just broke up with a musician who had some issues, trying to say
issues, they probably go together. No,
trying to
issues.
Seriously, no joke. Trying to save him unconsciously, and realizing that I was in that, and really it has to do with my father. So just diving deep into those things and realizing the reason I was attracted to him in the first place, and he's not a bad guy, he's an incredible guy. So that's where responsibility comes in, and going, there are no bad experiences. There's an experience that says, hey, this is to show me something. And this really was highlighting this area of healing within me that needs to happen in order so that I can feel, whole.
Yeah. I've learned that. I feel like, especially in the last 4 to 6 months, I've been diving really deep into myself, my past, childhood, and then the word that comes forth for me that I've finally started doing was taking accountability. Not for them to be fixed or fixing someone or changing something, but to adjust my relationship with it, look at it, look how I'm repeating patterns.
Yes.
And accountability. It's just a hard one. Why is it so hard?
Well, because we don't want to face ourselves. We live kind of in a victim society where somebody does something to us, right? Think about it. It's like everybody's whining and griping, and this person and that person and the president and the economy and the virus and there's not a lot of accountability there. So it's like, how can we be accountability for who we place in office? How can we be accountability for the relationships we're in? How can we be accountable for, the way we're showing up in our lives, for, that that we don't have any money? How can we be accountable for that? You've had a part in that somewhat, and I think that's just, it's easier. We're trained to blame it on someone else, and it's tougher. You have to really have a tough look at yourself, and takes a lot of courage in my experience. It's easier to go, you did that.
It is, of course. Do you feel like you're being more brave now maybe than you ever have? Or do you think that that's saying something?
100%.
So is it like a muscle, do you think? Is it like a muscle that gets stronger and you learn how to dive deeper?
Yep. Like, for example, when I'm going into ketamine, the guy actually said, the doctor, he was like, we haven't seen anybody go this deep, right, in the lozenge, but it's also, I'm not afraid of the space anymore, because I've dove so deep with the medicines for so long. Like, there's not a lot for me to be scared of, because I know that whatever I see is there to serve me, and I'm going to heal.
Truth.
So it's like I'm just not as scared to lose control. And I'm anxious. Like, come on, let's go. Let's show me what I need to see. So then that was developed over a long time in muscles. And the same thing with therapy, the same thing in relationships. Like I dove into this relationship hard. Like it was full, like cannonball, let's go, baby. And
That's beautiful.
it's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
I love what I did. I love how I loved. And also there were some really big learnings for me. It's like, oh, okay. Let's go back and retweak, Suzy, because your radar is a little off.
That about my life too.
Just
what was I thinking? And then I'm like, you know what? But it served some purpose, and
100%. Yeah.
it's all part of the learning. Like you said, every experience you learn from, and I mean, especially if you're slightly awake, you learn from them.
Well,
But
my choice is to learn.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I keep repeating them.
Yeah.
And I just want to learn, and let's grow and move on and have love and light, and let's all go and be happy,
So because I mean, my spiritual journey's been by no means as deeper as, as long as you've been at it. But for what I have been at, I have these waves of feeling like, oh my God, it's so much work. And it can be really, really dark, really, and really just really sad. Like I would say for me, especially in the last like 4 or 5 months, I cry a lot of days. Like it. And so do you ever get the feeling like, oh my God, when's this going to be over? This is the last lesson. I'll just have to learn this one. And then it's going to be like smooth sailing from here. Does that cross your mind? Or do you just have this insatiable appetite for what's next?
I think both. There are some moments when I'm like, oh my God, I literally called my mentor a couple of months ago. I'm like, hey, when? And then I realize that is the process of life. It is if you look at the cycles out in nature, right? You have the time that things bloom, and then you have the time that things die and wilt away. And when you look at it, I don't think this work will ever end. I think that is what we're here to do. So at one time, sometimes I can feel like, oh, woe is me for a few moments. And then I realize like, oh, I have a goal to reach my highest evolution in this lifetime, whatever that is. So that means I'm going to keep whatever comes up and whatever I'm having in my experiences here to actually serve that purpose. So let's just keep going.
Yeah. Do you ever rest? Like, I mean, whether it's your spiritual journey or whether it's starting in a new company, which you've, started a couple of them in the last 6 to 8 weeks. What is rest to you? Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah, well, honestly, I rested like from Thanksgiving till now. I was in my corporate offices less than 10 times. So I did a lot of resting from Thanksgiving through the third week of February. I pretty much tapped out. I fell in love. I went to a bubble. I called my company and said, I'm in love, dude. I'm going for this. So I tapped out and had a really wonderful time. And I love that my executives know me enough to know like, oh boy, this is big, right? Okay, we got you. So I feel like I really rested then. I gave myself that luxury. And now it's just like after all that rest, I just feel renewed. So now I'm like, guns a-blazing, let's go. Right? Yeah. So again, I think it's those cycles of, that was a real period of really detaching and letting go, going, I don't want anything to do with any of this anymore. I really let my whole company go. I was like, call me if you have an emergency, but I got to tap out for a while. And I left the company November, December, January, probably about 90 days, about 3 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like all of these things that you're talking about are just such good lessons for us all to hear, because you're showing that you can still be extremely successful, still be a boss, still be a lover, still be a spiritual seeker, and still take ayahuasca or ketamine or whatever all these things are and still be an amazing human, a successful human that we all respect, because I don't know if, any one of those things could be judged, but here you are embodying all of them and showing us that it's possible.
Yeah.
Do it all.
It
Can
is
you feel
possible.
that?
Yeah, I've never actually, thank you for seeing that. I've never had anybody reflect that back, but that does feel true. And that's the reason I don't like boxes. Like Suzy's the entrepreneur. I'm like, no, 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 no. There's multi dimensions of us all, right? We all have that. I'm also a mother, I'm a mother, I'm a mentor, I'm a spiritual seeker. I've got all these iterations of myself that all play well together. But at the center is that core that's just my solid being. And it's like, just different iterations of ourselves.
How do you keep your space clean so that you can keep being artistic and keep seeing the truth within yourself and others, and not getting right? There's so much noise out there in the world. There's noise with the news, there's noise with, drama. I mean, it's drama going to the grocery store right now with your mask on. Like, there's just so much noise that goes on that for me, I have to make a conscious effort to, keep the energetic space clean. Do you feel like you have to do that? And if you do, like, what are those things? How can we learn from you to be able to tap into our truth, which might be love, it might be work, it might be a journey,
Yeah, it might be all of those at once. Journey at work while you're in love. There you go. Depending on who you worked for. There's lots of people in Silicon Valley microdosing at work. Yeah, so I haven't had cable or watched television in 20 years. So I don't watch the news. I don't ingest the news. I don't have a single news channel anywhere on my phone, computer, anywhere. A lot of people say, oh, you're naive, you're not in touch. That's actually not true. People tell me what I need to know. Trust me, there's enough information out there. What I realize is I'm very sensitive and I'm very easily influenced. So I realized that whenever I would watch the news, like, I just felt horrible. And I was like, why am I watching? Why am I putting this, it's called programming for a reason. Television is called programming. So I'm like, why am I working so hard programming my mind in a positive mindset, but putting in negative information? So for me, it was a conflict. So I haven't watched a violent movie or a scary movie in decades. I just don't do that. So I keep it clean that way. Also, trying to live integrity as much as I can, watching myself and how I operate, cleaning up really quickly of anything that I feel bad or guilty for, or shouldn't have said, taking extreme accountability and responsibility, making my amends. I try to keep my being as energetically clean and clear as I can. It's, if I feel guilty about it, or if it keeps trolling in my mind, I'll have to out myself. Like, I told you that, and because I didn't want you to believe this. So I will actually have those conversations. Oh, dude, I've had conversations where I'm about to puke in a trash can. Yeah, my mentor Gay taught me that when you're sick, you should do a count within yourself and see where you've been out of integrity in your life. Check in and see what pops up. And like, there's some stuff that can pop up, girl. And yeah, I've literally had some conversations where we can get into that at another point, but some pretty gnarly conversations and amends that I needed to make, things I did that I didn't realize I felt guilty for, that actually still resided in my consciousness. So if you look at your consciousness or your vibration or your energetic state, just as you do your physical body, you keep it as clean as you can, right? That's what I do, try to keep all that clear. And I really do surround myself in beautiful environments. I try to make sure I'm in aesthetically pleasing places for me, I reduce negativity. I don't have anyone around me that's negative. I just don't. I'm not the person you call to gripe. I'm the person that, even my children, when they call, they know that I'm going to say, they're like, I have an earache. And I'll say, well, that's interesting. What are you not listening to?
So you go into the energetic body.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because I believe that too, with even, the things that are unhealed. I was just having this conversation actually with my dad the other day talking about things that I'm healing. And I said, I literally think of something that's eating me up inside or something that I haven't gotten out. I literally picture it like cancer.
That's
And
it.
if I don't get it out, if I don't say it, if I don't cry, if I don't write it down, if I don't
Yes.
alphabetize it, I literally just picture it like it's going to kill me.
And it does. That's literally what that is. Freud said secrets make you sick.
Ooh.
That was Sigmund Freud.
Ooh, talk to every Scorpio in the world then.
Exactly. It's like, so what are those, when you're sick, what are those secrets? And do you want to clean them up? Yeah, I don't have any secrets. None.
Where did you get that bravery? Have you always had it?
No, it's just it's realizing, I think doing so many ceremonies, realizing the extreme amount of work that it takes to clean this stuff up. And the more and more you do that, the less you're going to do something out of integrity, because you're going to have to clean it up later. It's like, I just can't operate that way anymore.
Yeah.
I just know I know what it feels like. I know what it takes to clean it up. And I know, like, there's just not worth it. Like, no.
Whether it's with somebody else or yourself, like the hours of crying or just even like the things that get like jammed into our subconscious or into our emotional body that take years to figure out, or decades, or what happens most of the time, which is why I said, I think you need to stop. Not everyone at 40 years old figures it out. Never. People never figure it out.
Danica, I got to see my mother. I didn't get to, I had to watch my mother die. Have never done any work. She was terrified, full of guilt, full of shame. And it's such a horrible way to die. And I have a commitment that I will not die like that.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. I will have said everything I needed to say. So I think that's where I get some courage too, is witnessing what it's like on the other way. And I don't want to do that. Like, no. I would rather feel terrified shaking in my boots telling you something than for this to eat me up, right? Because it will. Yeah.
I also imagine, I don't know if you believe in reincarnation or not. Do you?
I mean, I've done lots of reincarnation work, and I don't know whether it's like genetics or reincarnation, but I definitely believe that I've had some experiences.
Have you ever had any past life regressions?
Yeah.
Or past life information come through?
Yeah. And it's real. I was doing EMDR once and a past life came through, and my therapist's mouth drops open. And I was just like, and she goes, that's never happened. And I'm like, I don't know.
Did you ever figure out you're anything like really super cool in your past lives?
I was a queen, and I was going to be beheaded by my husband because I'd gotten pregnant with another man's baby. No, it was a gnarly one, girl.
Oh my gosh, that stuff is so fascinating.
So I have no idea if it's true or whatever, but it was an interesting experience. Do you believe in it?
I do. Because to me, it explains things like old souls and just knowing information, resonating in a certain way. Like, I don't know. I have a feeling like, I don't know, the frequency is rising on the planet. I think people are waking up. And I think there's all kinds of words from like crystal children, star children, there's a few other ones.
Indigo,
Indigo children. But I feel like we're all finding each other.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it in the first place. You kind of go, it's like at the very beginning, like, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to meet you. And we kind of just feel like we resonate, and like, why is that? Or, people that, Erin and I have met in the last year that we're amazingly great friends with, like, so quick. And you're like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
But to sort of go back to what I was thinking about the reincarnation and about learning lessons, is that I think to myself, and have you listened to Dolores Cannon?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
Oh, there's a great guy here. Do you know Jordan DeWitt?
nope, but I'm going to write that down.
Yeah,
Jordan
I'll
DeWitt.
send you his info. He's like a master trainer of her work, or a master past life regression guy. He's great.
I was really afraid. I was really sad that because I've listened to hours and hours and hours of Dolores Cannon, and I was so sad that she was not alive anymore, because I thought, if I have some really deep stuff going on, who the hell am I going to call? But Dolores Cannon does so much. She's a hypnotherapist. She's passed away. But I think about her saying, if you don't learn the lesson this time, you're going to come back and do it again. And that's what I think of every time that I'm like, I don't want to do this. But I don't want to have to come back and do this again. I do not want to have to go through this life again to get back to this lesson. I'm going to do it this time.
Yes. See, sister. So that's what gives you the courage, is going, no. I'm not going to repeat this. That's not happening. I can have another experience, but it is not going to be this one.
It's so true. It's so true.
So fun.
Well, what do you feel like? I mean, you're such a business mogul. I mean, you are, and you're so creative and so visionary and such a leader. But what do you feel like your purpose is? Like, when it's all said and done, what did you come here for?
I really think it's funny, because I have this written on my wall. Natalie Merchant has a song called Wonder, and she has a line. She says, "Fate smiled at destiny." And I really am starting to see that my entire story, the entire journey, has been the purpose, right? It's literally the trajectory of the story. Just like, I get teary thinking the honor of just being able to share a part of it with you. Like, really, like, I cry right here, just going like, oh, what an honor, just to be able to share a part. And I think that's my purpose, is just to say, I've been in a lot of these places. I've been homeless. I've been in abusive marriages. I've had all kinds of abuse. I've been bankrupt twice. And you can get out of it, and you can heal. That's my purpose, is just to let people know and be some sort of an example that can happen. And I just get teary on my knees thinking I can't think of a greater honor to have lived this life, to just be able to share it.
To inspire. You inspire.
Yeah, that's it. That is just, yeah, it's, again, it just, it gets me. It's just like, there's no victim story in there. That's just more like, I feel such an honor to have just be in my position. It's like, yeah, some sort of amazing miracle. And then just to be able to have the voice and ear of people. And because I needed those people. I remember back in the day, I don't know if you heard me say this on any of the podcasts, but I used to listen to Les Brown and Zig Ziglar, and they were all men, but I listened to those guys with my little cassette tape in my car, and it was like hanging on with my fingernails, and it kept my nose above water. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd been in such dark places that I thought, okay, like, it was just a little bit of, I can make it. And if I could even be a fraction of that to even a tiny group of people, then my life feels complete.
The shaman was right, Suzy. The shaman was right.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's not groups of 20. It's groups of 20. It's groups of 200,000 at a time, or millions at a time.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's what I really realized. I had a woman who, she's a script writing consultant on the feminine heroic journey. And she said, there's only one reason a person's lived the life that you've lived. And I said, why? And she said, for the story to be told. And I was just like, it just got me. I was like, interesting. We need these stories. So when I remove myself out of it from an egoic place, I'm like, yeah, I needed a story like that. Right.
Yeah. We need heroes.
Yeah.
You're a giant hero. Are they making a movie about your life now?
There's a lot of things going on.
They sure as hell should.
You're so great.
Yeah,
we're looking at some series and looking at options right now. which is really, I mean, again, it's like pinch yourself moments. Like, what? Okay, let's just keep saying yes. So, and I'm very, it's interesting how picky I am about how the story's told, because to me it's a spiritual journey and it's a reclamation story.
Mm.
It's us reclaiming parts of ourselves that we lost, right? That's the story. And that's what I've done. And yes, I've created money and abundance with that, but that's not the story. It's not a rags to riches story. It's a rags to riches story when you know what true wealth is. And true wealth is your internal state of being. So that's.
Do you think that this point in time that we're at, where everybody's stuck at home and giving us perspective and, making some people really uncomfortable, some people are loving it. Are you over it or are you loving it?
I love it.
Okay. I'm with you. I feel bad saying that, but I
know I feel guilty sometimes. I'm like, I'm really having a great time.
It's my jam. But I was just talking to my sister today, and she's like, she has 3 little girls, and her and her husband were like, we kind of don't want it to be over. And I was like, and I looked and I said to her, I was like, this is the point in time where you get to decide what the new norm is.
Yes.
If you want it to be different,
yes,
make it different.
Right now. There's no greater opportunity to reconfigure everything. I told my office last week, I'm like, do we even need to go back to an office? Like, should we all be working remote? Like, I don't know. This seems to be working.
Then that maybe leads me to another question. I was going to kind of wrap up, but I'm curious then, in light of those little parts there. What is the point of all of this? Do you feel like you have an answer to that, or at least a current answer?
I do. It's really interesting. I was listening to this great series on Gaia. It's called Initiation. And it's this young kid who has like the 10-part series talking about the different levels of dimension and our reality. And
love it.
It might be a bit woo for people, but I was really digging it.
I love that stuff.
He said something and it made me, I don't remember if he talked, I don't think he talked specifically about the pandemic because it had to have been filmed before that. But what I really got is that in the healing process, you have to, let's say a medicine or a therapy session, you have to stop and then you look and you assess, you take account, right? And then you look at things from different angles and then you come back and your reality is different because of that perspective change.
Sure.
And when he said that, I thought, this is what's happening right now. We're stopped. We're able to look at things differently so that whenever we go back, things are going to be reconfigured. We cannot go back to the way we were.
It has to.
It has to. So I believe that this has been a global therapy session, whether it's Mother Earth doing it because she said, hey, I need to breathe and break, or whether it's some higher power going, you guys need to stop doing what you're doing and think about things, whatever it is. I just believe that it's a very valuable time to get some really good shifts and to get new perspectives of the way we've been living and the way we're operating. Yeah.
So what's the point of all this though? Not the quarantine, but life.
Oh, the whole point of life.
Yeah, the whole, if we're working and we get this pause moment where we go, oh man, I love this. Like my sister, I don't want this to end. Then you got to start thinking, I'm sure other people are thinking like this too, but what is the point of all, what are we working so hard for when it just doesn't take much?
It doesn't take much. Yeah. I don't know if I know what the point is yet, but I kind of feel that all of it is the point. No matter where you're at, what you're doing, that's the whole point within your journey. We're all on different parts of the wheel. We're all at that's the point. I remember Byron Katie saying, what if your purpose was right here, right now in this moment? What if that was your purpose?
We as humans always want answers, right? It's like a disease. We're like, but there has to be an answer. And maybe it's just not that complicated.
Yeah. What if this is it? It's like, I feel complete, it's like, yeah, this is great. If nothing else happened other than this moment, I feel good. I feel clear. So that's what I try to remember is, just, that's it. I have one goal at the end of my life. I have written up on the wall over here. My nose is all runny. But I have written, well played, because that's what I want on my tombstone. Just well played. It's like life gave you some stuff. You did some shit. You cleaned it all up. It's just well played. Because really it's just a big game. So if we look at every experience as a game, and here we are in this moment on the board, what are we going to do? What move are we going to make? That's it, right? It's being present and going, and what if that's it? What if everything is every moment of the game? I don't know.
I like that perspective.
Isn't it nice?
Well played. Just make good plays. Just keep making good plays. And then at the end of your life, it's a good played life.
Exactly. It's like, well played. It's like, thank you. That was good.
I like that. Oh, wait, I have one more thing.
Okay.
So is the hat part of your superpowers?
Because
you are a hat girl, and I know that, and now I really want more hats.
Yeah, I'm a hat girl. There's a great girl, and do you know Teresa Foglia in Malibu? She has a great hat shop. This is a Nick Fouquet down in Venice, but it's because I have a really bad hair day. So there's two things. It's great for bad hair days. Covers it all up, but also, well, there's three things. It does help protect your crown chakra. So like if I'm out, a lot of times I'll wear a hat just to kind of protect myself a little bit, just because I have a lot of energy that can, go wild. And the third thing is, my friend JP Sears told me that, and I just posted, do you know JP?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He told me that, and I just posted yesterday on the Queen's birthday, that a queen wears her crown as a reminder that she's in service of a higher power. So there's something that I like about that. Like as a matter of fact, I'm getting that written on the inside, painted on the inside of all my hats, just for me to remember that I'm in service of a higher power, that it's like my crown.
That's beautiful.
Oh, 3 reasons. And really good for bad hair days.
That one is for sure. Like it goes straight hair day, curly hair day, hat day, start over.
100%. Yep, that's the way I do. So
or sometimes it's like
straight
curly hat. Then
totally, and it just, who knows? It just depends.
Thank you so much. You're so inspirational.
Oh, thank you. Like, what a awesome conversation. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard today and you want to hear more, please click on the subscribe button.